Oh. And it's November 7th. Welcome to the old gym here at Boise State University at the Kinesiology Annex. We're going to be bringing you the first game of this tournament here. It is Boise State Blues taking on the Washington State University Cougars. I'm John Jansen. I'm joined here by Jamie Bingham.
Hello.
And Jamie, you played a little bit of volleyball back in your day, didn't you?
Yeah, I actually grew up in Anchorage, Alaska, and I played a little bit of volleyball in high school. I was actually libero, and you'll see that once the game starts, but that's the girl in the different colored jersey. She can sub in for the back row. She doesn't actually have to make a sub, but just rotates in for usually a middle hitter. Usually are the girls who are a little bit smaller, closer to the ground, better ability to dig the ball or pancake the ball or something like that. So, yeah, I had a really great time playing that in high scholl.
Yeah, and libero is definitely a very important position, especially defensively. You know, when you throw them in, they can have unlimited subs, anything like that. I want to talk about the setter. The setter is kind of normally referred to as the quarterback of the team.
Yeah, definitely. So the setter, I would say, is the quarterback of the team because she really just decides where she's putting the ball. She can either place it in the middle of the court to the middle hitter. She can place it on the outside to the outside hitter. She can place it behind her to the right side hitter, or she can even place it in the back to have the back row people hit it as well. So it really is just up to her depending on what she's doing, where she sees the ball coming from, like just where in the position of the court she is. So yeah, I think she has the most knowledge of the positions.
And now we also, when you look at volleyball positions, you have hitters and blockers. What's kind of the difference between the two?
So it's usually the same people, but depending on if you're on defense or offense. So if you're on offense, you're usually hitting, and so it would be a middle hitter, an outside hitter, or a right side hitter. And when you're on defense, that's when you'll be blocking. And it really just depends on what side the other team is hitting the ball, depending on who are the blockers. Usually teams try to have two blockers, either in the middle or on the outside, but I've even seen teams that bring in all three front row players to block, and that really puts up the best wall against the other team.
And as we go live down on the court, both teams huddling up, getting ready for the pregame. And anything you noticed during the warm-ups, looking at these two teams right now?
It looks like Washington State has a couple really tall girls, and Boise State also has a few tall girls too, so I'm sure those are specifically their middle hitters. I see that Boise State has one libero playing, and so does Washington State, so that's good. You'll see them rotating in as the game continues on. Honestly, we'll have to check it out and see how this game goes to determine which team is going to come out with the win. So also, we just want to say to our viewers on YouTube right now that there is a chat box on the bottom right hand side, and if you want to leave us a comment or want to shout out to one of the players, feel free to leave a comment there, and we'll try to incorporate it into our broadcast.
And so the teams shake hands right before the play. They're going to huddle up here. Jamie, you said the courts are a little bit smaller today. Should we expect that to be a more faster pace?
Yeah, so the court usually only has one game going on, but since today is a tournament, they have split the court into two smaller courts. And yeah, I just kind of think that since the out-of-bounds lines are so much shorter, it's probably going to go a little bit quicker, not as much room to try and save the ball. So yeah, we'll just have to see if that makes an impact today.
And the close quarters are definitely going to be something else to watch. Now, then we also have two teams here, Boise State Blues, Boise State Orange, so it's going to be exciting to see a whole bunch of Boise State today.
Definitely.
And so now as all the teams are going to get set for the first serve.
Looks like they're just waiting on an official to grab the ball. There she goes.
And Washington State's going to serve. That was Morgan Stanley on the serve.
Yeah, so setter decided to push it back to the outside, let that girl kind of get another chance, and she got it in past the block as it falls down right behind the block on Washington State side. So Boise State point. Ooh, close set. That was number 11, Katie McCall, with the overhit across the net. Nice serve by Boise State. Tip.
It looks like Washington State might have just scored there. We're not quite sure until we get the scoreboard updated. I see it now. So the score's now 2-2.
Ooh, the block by Washington State.
And tries to tip that right over the net, but pancaked up by Boise State.
Serves good. Ooh, just out of bounds.
And a little too much power on that spike there.
Yeah, it looks like she was going for the home run. That's usually what happened to me when I would try to go for that.
Just get a little too excited and just put a little too much mustard in it.
Ooh, close. Nice save by Boise State.
Good set with the spike. Washington State.
Outside. And
spikes it down.
Out of bounds.
And it's
Point
not going to be
BSU.
point. So Boise State serves.
Ooh, tough set on that one.
Oh, and it's immediately blocked by Washington State. Great job by number 17.
3-5.
And John, as you can see, the libero for Washington State just rotated out. Serve was no good, out of bounds. Point BSU.
4-5 Washington.
So Boise State's going to serve. That's Kaylee Green on the serve. Kaylee Green again. Spikes down and it's blocked, but goes out of bounds. So that's going to be Boise State's point. 5-4.
Yeah, so on blocks like that, John, you really want to position your hands straight down. Washington State did a nice job of that, but it just happened to hit her outside hand and thus out of bounds.
And it looks like they've been very aggressive on the net there, trying to keep them from getting their spikes in. And so that one time didn't pay off, but we'll look to see that further.
Oof.
Yeah, my mic's picking it up.
Yeah, and that one hit the tape right there. So Boise State point.
A little rally here by Boise State. Couple
know.
points in a row. And
You can
Green
re-
again.
You can really see when you get multiple points in a row, the momentum just, their attitudes just completely change. Ooh,
And good
nice
tip.
push.
Just bumps it right over. Might have went out of bounds.
Yeah, I think the set was a little too far out of bounds. I don't think she was intending to push it over the net. It just happened to be a little too, the bump was a little too close to the net for the setter on that one.
You know, and sometimes those shots are really hard because you're trying to have so much control, but you're trying to do it all in such a short
Definitely.
amount of time. It spikes that down. Washington State point. It's going to make that 6-8. Boise State lead. So here's Emily Hagen on the serve.
Nice pass by Boise State.
Good spike. Stays in bounds. Boise State up 9-6.
We got a sub. for Boise State. Number 9, Madison Woodworth comes in to serve.
Bump, set, and see what they get on the spike.
Ooh.
Good defense by Boise State here. Tips it right over. They weren't ready for it.
Yeah, see on that one, John, number 7 was just a little out of position, a little too far back behind the 10-foot line. She needs to come in a little bit closer if she is going to be able to save those tips.
And they must have caught her sleeping.
I think she's figured it out now. She'll get it next time.
Boise State on the attack.
Nice back row hit.
Here's another spike. Both teams playing very even right now. And that looks like that might have went to Boise State. And yes, it did. So 10-7.
Washington State, they think it was a touch on that one, but the officials gave the point to BSU.
Boise State will serve. And it's jousted at the net, but Boise State able to spike it back over. And a little bump again, but Boise State's ready this time. That was Woodworth.
Nice backslide on that one. She just wasn't able to get the ball past the tape. Look out for those plays, though. It looks like Boise State is going to be trying to set a lot of to the right side today.
You know, when you mentioned earlier Washington State's size was going to be an advantage, and you notice that right up front there on the net. They're able to just get right up and hit the ball.
Yeah, I mean, like a strategy for BSU on that one is to place the ball around the net, try to tip it over or roll it right over the block. You know, once you see multiple blocks in a row, it's more of a strategy to try to just push it around.
And we'll look to see if they'll mix it up. Woodworth bumps it up.
Out to the outside. Nice.
And spike, but saved by Washington State. Oh, good spike. She was not ready for that. And Jamie, that was a savage spike. And that's actually going to tie it up, too, here in the first set at 10-10.
You know, sometimes those spikes, they just come down the right way. The girl was set up nicely for that set. Not a lot you can do about that.
Sometimes it just happens.
Nice back set again.
On the attack. Oh, tried to save it with the pancake, but just fell right out of her hands.
You know, that's another play that's really tough because it hits the tape and you think it's coming right back down, but kind of trickles off the side. BSU with the serve.
Kayla Crane on the serve.
Sets push to the outside.
Spikes to the outside.
Nice.
And looks like there's a miscommunication there.
Yeah, you know, also, John, sometimes when the ball comes in between the seams of the back row hitters, it's really tough to decide who's going to go for that ball. But I'm sure their coach would much rather have them both go for the ball than neither one of them.
Right. And there's Washington State on the serve.
Out of bounds.
Stanley hit that one out of bounds. Boise State's point.
Got another sub, number 11, Katie McCall, coming back in.
And Arredondo. Here's a spike on the right side, blocked right back into Washington State's face.
That'll give Boise State a little bit of momentum.
And Arredondo, who possibly has the best name on the volleyball team, will serve here.
And the best fans. Look at all those fans back there for her.
Oh, they are all about Arredondo. And
She's
that's going to go out of bounds again by Boise State. Sorry to cut you off there, Jamie.
That's okay. I was just going to say that she's continuing to serve. Oh, a little bit
up,
of...
and looks like referee stopped the play.
Little bit of miscommunication there for Washington State. The setter called for help, but everyone was expecting her to get it.
And Arredondo right over the net. Good serve. And spikes it down out of bounds. Too much power. That's 16-11 Broncos.
Washington State calls a timeout.
And so, Jamie, Boise State's looking good. They pulled off about 5 scores in a row now. What does Washington State need to do to come back in this set?
Yeah, and like Washington State, this is a good time for a timeout because once, a team starts building momentum, it's really good to take a breather and figure out what they need to start doing. Honestly, I think they just need to communicate a little better, try to get the passes closer to their setters so they can set up the set spike. But right now, they're doing all right. They just needed a breather.
And sometimes when you have evenly matched teams, when one thing goes wrong for one team, it can kind of pile on and, cause things like that. So we'll see what they can do to come back. Just bumps this up, set. Tries to block it on the net, but stays on Boise State's side. So Washington State gets a much-needed point.
Yeah, and only number 12, Kaylee Green, was up for the block on that one, so she just didn't have any other. Ooh.
And it looked like they gave that to Washington State.
Yeah, they called that inside. It looked a little close, but that's what line judges are for.
Washington State on the next serve, down 3. Right off the net. That's going to go back to Boise State.
Yeah, and when they're looking for momentum, that's something that really hurts. It's one of the toughest but easiest parts of volleyball is serving. And the reason that I say that is because it's really tough and a lot of pressure on a single player, but that's the kind of stuff that you need to really continue playing.
And that's going to go way too far on the spike, but love the enthusiasm, of course.
Excuse me, don't take that yet. Take the score off.
Officials are talking about if there was a touch or not. They're going to go talk to the line judges as well. And
sorry, Jamie.
That's okay. I was just going to say the point does go to Washington State.
And if you're just tuning in, there's a box on the bottom right corner of the screen. It's a chat box. You can interact with us if you want to talk to the players. Know any of them, want to say something to them or us about them. We'd be more than happy to have your engagement in that.
Nice spike by the right side hitter on that one.
So Green going to serve with the 4-point lead. Spike. Too much again. And do you feel like Washington State is getting aggressive because they're trying to come back, or?
I mean, that's all you can really do. Just keep bumps at spike, but one thing they really need to do is try to place the ball in specific parts of the court. Ooh.
And she's not liking that.
Shank.
She knows that was a bad bounce.
More momentum for BSU.
And it's hard to overcome those tough breaks like that when they happen to you.
Yeah, you just gotta forget about the last play and move on to the next one.
And while there is going to be a men's club broadcast, men's club game right after this tournament, we will not be broadcasting it today. So score now 20-15 Broncos as we try to reset the action. Referee just trying to sort things out now.
Line judge said that there was a touch, so that will be Washington State's point.
And much needed now. Boise State gets even closer to getting his first set. And Jamie, how important is it to win your first set, especially in a game like volleyball?
To be honest, I wouldn't say that it's the most important thing, but it really does set your momentum, like I've been saying. I've played games where you win the first set, you lose the next one. then you win the third one. And so I've also played ones where you lose the first set and then you win the next one, and then that also drives momentum. So it really just depends on the actual player.
No go.
Too many touches on that one, John. They did try to save it off the net.
And just not enough. Great effort, though.
Unfortunately, those plays are really tough because it's hard to hit the net and bump it over at the same time.
So we'd like to apologize to everybody that's been watching the stream. We've just been informed the stream has gone down. So we're going to... And Boise State gaining even closer, getting a win on this first set. And they've looked good so far, Jamie. They seem very consistent.
Yeah, I mean, they're not letting the points against them get to their heads. They're moving on to the next play. Nice block by middle hitter.
And now, Jamie, normally a player can't touch the ball twice, but why was she able to hit it twice right there?
So, John, on the block, it's not considered a touch. And so there's 3 other touches that can still happen, as well as the player who blocked the ball can immediately touch the ball again. So that's what the middle hitter, number 1, Kayla Crane, just tried to do.
Diving bump. Digs it up. And here's a set, now spike. Oh, and it's going to be Boise State's point. She touched it.
Nice backslide by number 1, Crane.
And that is the first set for Boise State. And I wonder if we can get a replay and take a look at how that went down there. And Jamie, she almost didn't even have to go for the ball.
Yeah, the backslide is a really nice strategy, especially for trying to get away from the blockers. You know, blockers see the setter trying to push it to the middle or to the right side, but with the sliding.
So we take a look here. Here's the double hit.
So that was the play before
The
where
play
she
right
blocked
before,
it.
with the double hit there. So just explaining that. And so as Boise State goes into the next set, they got to be feeling really confident.
Yeah, definitely. They need to just take this momentum and continue on with how they're playing right now. Their blocking's doing well. Their serves are excellent.
And here's the last play right there. As we take a look, bumps it up.
Watch how she slides in the back.
Spike here, and then just off the hands, might have went out of bounds, but not much you can do. You're trying to get your team back in the game.
Yeah, I mean, she hit it pretty hard, and in that position, as long as the back player touches the ball, it's all she needs.
And so now, what did you notice from Washington State's game? What was holding them back?
So, honestly, Washington State is doing pretty good. The main thing that they need to work on is adjusting their blocks to where actually Boise State is hitting the ball. I've noticed that they've only had 1 or maybe 2 blockers, you know, for each hit. And so putting more blocks and more pressure on a BSU hit will really help their momentum as well as their game.
And Jamie, what kind of things do these teams normally talk about in between sets here?
So, you know, right now BSU is just like, let's keep doing what we're doing. Let's make sure our serves are in. Again, one of the most important things that you can do to help your team is get your serve in. And just keep with the blocking that they're doing. That's really good. Washington State, on the other hand, is really just trying to, you know, help each other position better for the hit. I've noticed that a couple times girls have been a little out of position, so they haven't been able to reach the hit, or it's gone off one of the fingers of the blocker, so they haven't really been in the right position for that. So they're just trying to establish this game needs to go a little smoother, try to get all of our serves in. Just take it one play at a time. Again, all you can really do.
And emphasis on just remaining calm.
Definitely.
A good exchange of high fives there. And good shimmy by 11. I respect that move there. She's obviously worked on that. And so right now we're heading into the second set of 3 sets. And Jamie, why are we doing 3 sets instead of 5 today?
So just because it's tournament play, they're just trying to get the games over a little bit quicker. Usually a bigger game or like a regular season game would be best out of 5.
And Boise State immediately blocks that back. And they draw first blood in the second set.
That's a good start. That's something that's really going to keep their spirits high. Again, Arredondo with the serve. Nice block by Boise State, but unfortunately just outside of the line.
Deadlocked at 1. Bump to the left side of the net. She's able to keep it up.
Nice save.
And just sets it over the net. No one even comes to it. And that's easy points for the Broncos.
Stuff like that where you're just a little out of position, not really ready for the easy set right back over the net. But sometimes those are the plays that can really help when you're looking for points.
Oh, it goes right up in the air. And good hustle, but just could not get to it quick enough.
You know, John, like I said, how the courts are a lot, not smaller in size of the court, but of the area out of bounds, there's also a lot of spectators on the sidelines. So it's really not that much room to try to chase down a shanked ball like that.
And on the return, spike, but bumped up.
Nice save by Boise State as they free ball from the back row.
Oh, and soft bump, but Arredondo keeps it alive. Libero with the dig there. A good block by Washington State. That was number 6, Hannah Ehlers.
Yeah, and that's what Washington State needed at that point, just to get a block down, try to get the serve back again. Control of the ball is very beneficial.
Another little tip over, and Ehlers misses.
Miscommunication on that one. Multiple players going for the same ball.
And it's just going to happen in a fast-paced game like volleyball.
You know, a lot of times players are just trying to save the ball as best they can.
Here's a set. Now spike.
Just out of bounds.
Boise State tacks on another point. And the teams seem even. It just seems like Boise State is able to get on some runs here, get a lot of points on the board all at once, and then it just seems like that's really the main problem for Washington State.
It looks like BSU is really just keeping their spirits high, congratulating each other even after lost points, and that's the kind of stuff that really helps in these situations. It looks like Washington State is getting a little down on themselves, especially after that last hit, so they just need to stay confident and play their game.
And you have seen points of frustration in the Washington State players throughout so far.
So on that one, John, the Washington State player just stepped her full foot over the line, and it's completely fine if you only put half of your foot or a little bit of your foot, but your entire foot cannot cross the center net line. So that's why BSU got the point on that one.
And again, that's Washington State. Hannah Ehlers is going to come out now. Here's Arredondo with the set. And Washington, 2 quick points. So Erica Bowden on the serve. There's a spike, but looks like too much power. That's 3 points in a row for Washington State.
Yeah, on that one, she just needs to snap her wrist a little bit more, try to come down on the ball instead of hitting it in a far direction.
And it looked like it was going to get out of hand early, 7-3, but Washington State fighting back very quickly, making this a game.
Tough set. Yeah, the official called a double touch on that one. As you can see, Arredondo just kind of hit the ball, or excuse me, set the ball in a weird motion, and that can just be considered a two-touch.
So Boise State on the return. Blocked back, but it's Boise State's point, fell on Washington State's side. So Boise State keeps a 2-point lead. And Bowden digs it up. Look at that spike.
Yeah, and that's something that I've noticed from Washington State. They like to hit the corners, so that's something BSU is really going to have to kind of just remember, that they need to stay close to the line and not hover so much around the far net. There's another line shot by Washington State.
And we're knotted up. And Washington State definitely fighting hard in the second set. They're not looking to go down without a fight.
You know, sometimes a loss in the first set can really put a spark in a team.
Oh, and they weren't expecting that.
Good push by BSU on that one.
So Boise State will serve after the point with the lead. Set to the outside.
Just off the touch from the BSU back row.
And that will be Washington State's point, once again tied. No team has seemed to pull away just yet in this set.
Nice block by Washington State.
10-9, or excuse me, 9-10. Washington in the lead.
And we talked about Washington State's blocking ability up front. It really seems like they've adjusted now to what the Broncos are throwing at them. Look at that spike.
Nice set.
Just tips it over. Boise State was ready, though, for the off speed. Good returns all around. And Washington State, again.
Yeah, sounds like Washington State really, as they serve out of bounds. But I was just going to say, Washington State must have really talked in their huddle between sets about just staying focused, keeping spirits high, keeping the block strong. Stuff they've really improved on already in this set.
You know, and you mentioned after the first set that they really needed to make sure they were executing what they normally do. And it really seems like they're a whole different team and that they're actually able to make plays, make things happen.
Definitely.
Spike down.
Yeah, as you can see on that one, there wasn't much of a block, and in those situations like that, it's almost giving the other team a free shot.
That was Kaylee Green on that kill. So served by Arredondo. And Ayler tried to spike it down but blocked. Good defense by Boise State's front.
That was a well-placed ball into the far back. I've noticed that BSU, they've been doing really well having tip coverage, and that's really important because when your block's doing strong, the other team can see that, and so they're going to try to place the ball around you. And so it's important to have those backup tip. Speaking of that.
Quick points there. And they were just able to find an opening in the court.
Washington State saw that opening and went for it.
And, you know, we've noticed that not a lot of kills, but a lot of good placement by these players to get a lot of points. Just putting it in the open areas that they're finding. Showing really good awareness. And that did stay in bounds.
Yeah, it was a good, nice bump set spike by Washington State.
Here's a spike blocked back to Crane.
Nice save, free balled over.
Washington State again, 15-12. Looking very strong in the second set.
Again on the block with that, John, trying to position your hands inward so that the block doesn't just immediately go off the side. Nice kill by BSU right there.
Good answer. BSU still well within this game. Washington State looking very aggressive though.
You know, Boise State, I've noticed they're not even intimidated by this though. Their faces don't really show any worry. They're just going to come back and continue playing their game.
They definitely seem to have a lot of composure.
You know, a missed serve here or there kind of brings spirits down, but you just got to go on to the next play. Nice save there.
And tipped up, but able to be saved. Here's Bowden. Washington State again.
Little miscommunication on the seam in the back row. Yeah, Washington State just wants to continue to keep these serves.
And digged up, and then tipped over. There's a spike by one right back into the face of Nicole Piddlecow, almost a facial disgraceful.
You know, John, that didn't clear the tape as much, so that's probably why it hit her in the face a little bit with the net. Nice tip over the net by Washington State.
Good save by Arredondo there too. Here's Bowden.
Things are getting a little crazy out here, but...
Spike blocked back again. That's been the theme today. Lots of good defense so far.
You know, it doesn't have to look pretty if it clears the net. Oh, and BSU touches the net, so that'll be a Washington State point.
14-18, sorry.
Score now 18-14, Washington State.
Building a good lead now, trying to just pull away at the end here. It's the same position that Boise State and Washington were in, just flipped from the first set.
Exactly. You can notice that kind of stuff when evenly playing teams are playing each other. It just kind of goes back and forth.
And 19-14.
That one out of bounds.
Washington State going to serve again.
Good save.
Just trying to get it over. Arredondo. Spike, not able to dig it up. 20-14 is the score here in the second set.
BSU just needs to get their composure back, try to set the bump set spike up.
And that's exactly what they need right there.
Yeah, that was lucky for them right there.
And they're going to get the serve back. Down by 5 points.
So a little bit of pressure on the server right now. It's very important to get her serve over. She does it.
Oh, and just
Oh.
soft touch. And that's able to be points for Washington State again. And they're just looking really aggressive in the second set.
They have definitely figured it out.
And you can just see with the momentum they're building too, with all these points, that the confidence is growing as well.
Good attempt at the save by Washington State, but does not clear the net.
So here's Sierra Stratton. Soft touch, but Boise State responding quickly and right into the net.
Unfortunately, John, that wasn't a high enough set to be cleared. It's really hard as a back row hitter to clear the net if you don't have a high enough set and you don't have time to really position your feet correctly. Unfortunately, that's what happened for BSU just there.
Looks like it goes out of bounds. Too much power. 23-16 is the score.
You can definitely see the smiles return on Washington State's face.
And this is going to make an interesting third set.
Nice backside.
And were they able to stay in?
Unfortunately, just out of bounds.
So this is now game point for Washington State in the second set.
Yeah, right here, BSU just needs to clear the net. That's what they're thinking. If that's a free ball, so be it. Oh,
Trying to close it out.
unfortunately.
And that's it. So the second set goes to Washington State, and we are tied 1-1 going into the third set. And so how about those adjustments by Washington State, Jamie? They really looked a lot better compared to their performance in the first set.
Yeah, I mean, they worked on their blocking for sure. They worked a lot more on their passing, and a lot of people don't realize that passing is a huge part of.
And that was the last play there, which closed it out.
What I was just saying, John, is a lot of people don't realize that passing is a huge part of setting up the
All right,
spike.
here's the last play right here. They tried to return it, but fell a little bit short of the net. And what did you take away from that play?
You know, on stuff like that, it's very important to, like I said, to get the bump to the setter. If it's too close to the net or even just over the net, it sets the other team, in this case Washington State, up for an automatic spike right back down on you. And that's really hard to set up for if you're just already in the bumping position and then all of a sudden the ball's coming right back down at you. So that's something that BSU needs to work on for this next set because, like I said, passing is one of the most important things to have a good hit and a good set, you know, in general.
And so we know Boise State won the first set, but with Washington State's last performance, do you feel like they have the advantage right now?
You know, like I said in the very beginning, when you asked me, is it more important to have the first game under your belt, I would disagree with that because now that Washington State has this momentum going into the third game, it's going to be tough for BSU to pick it back up. They just need to remember how they were feeling in the first set and bring it back for the third one. And Washington State, they just need to keep the momentum that they're at right now and continue blocking like they've been doing and getting all serves in.
Exactly. They've done very well firing at all cylinders. And one thing for Boise State, too, is they kept it even, and then they just began to fell off kind of near the end. I don't know if it was because they got tired, or what did you kind of notice out of that?
You know, I wouldn't even consider that BSU's fault. I just think Washington State started picking up their bumps at spike routine, and once you start getting those in a row, it's just really easy to continue it. You start feeling good with your hits, your outside hitter starts feeling really comfortable, and it's easy to just continue that motion.
So third and final set coming up. And Jamie, normally on a final set we go to 15 points, but in tournament play when the rules can be changed, they're going to do only 25 here.
Yeah, it sounds like they're just doing all the same scores per set. Usually when it's best out of 5, or I've even seen in high school when it's best out of 3, they will go to 15 on the tie-breaking game. But I think just because this is tournament play, they're just trying to give an even set to everyone.
And so Washington State will start serving.
Nice back row hit.
And Boise State able to get their first points on the board.
A little bit of miscommunication on Washington State's side.
When that happens, everyone's kind of being aggressive, but at the same time trying to make sure they're staying in control. So sometimes there's those mental lapses there that you have to overcome.
My coaches in high school always told me it's better to run into your teammate and have the ball shank from both of you than it is to be both looking at each other, watching the ball fall in between. And unfortunately, that's what happened to Washington State on that last play.
So Arredondo on the serve.
Nice pass.
There's a spike, deflected, falls underneath the net on Boise State's side, so that's Washington State points.
Yeah, that was a good attempt at a save by number 7, Kaylee Warren, but unfortunately she just couldn't get it high enough for the setter to get a chance.
And the serve goes right off the net and
Oof.
back to Boise State.
That is not what Washington State was talking about. You need to get those serves in, very important.
Here's Crane. There's a spike, hit it a little early, but off the hands of Arredondo. And another point for Washington State. They actually take the lead there.
You know, on that play, John, that's actually called a quick set, and that can be used a lot in nice plays for the middle hitters to throw off the block from the other team, and that's exactly what happened. BSU was not prepared for that block, and thus it goes right off the tip of her hand. Waiting now for the official.
Looks like they're trying to sort something out. And it looks like it was a timeout. Both teams are getting back together, though, in the center court. So for Boise State right now, down by 1 point, third set, Washington State has a lot of confidence. How do you respond to their energy?
Yeah, I mean, energy is just the ultimate thing that you need when playing any kind of sport. Just keeping your spirits high, just, you know, hustling. That's the kind of stuff that even when you're maybe not having the best game or the best play, that's the kind of stuff that you can still see in faces. And
Bowden on the serve for the Cougars. Deflected and hit back by Green.
a little bit of confusion. I don't think the right side hitter knew she was being set to on that one.
And that's big for Boise State as they're able to tie it up. And points are at a premium here in the third set, so that's got to be huge. And soft touch. Crane dived for it, but just probably was not in the right position.
You know, I wouldn't even say that she wasn't in the right position. Washington State had a weird little hit there. It looked like their middle hitter was just a little too early, and thus the block was just a little too early. Nice placement to the middle of the court. Nice saves. Free ball's over.
Trying to save it. Back over to Boise State. Good spike there. That went off Tula Pax. And she tried to set it, but went right behind her.
You know, it's pretty tough to try to set a hit. It's coming quick, it's coming hard, it gets stuck in your fingers, and unfortunately that's just what happened to Washington State on that last play.
Here's the dig. And Boise State's points. I went out of bounds.
Yeah, even on that, Boise was trying to tell the officials that the ball was off the tape. I'm not sure if they agree with that. Either way, it should be a BSU point because it was out of bounds.
We've seen a lot of that today, and the smaller court size that you talked about earlier really has been a factor in that too, huh?
You know, and the ball's going out of bounds, and especially because if you'll notice, John, how the middle of the court is actually, you know, for like a real game, if there was only one game, it's very highlighted with this orange ring around the court. So it's easy to tell where the court begins and ends. On these smaller courts, it's only this yellow line, and sometimes it gets a little confusing to tell which line is the out-of-bounds line and which line is just the 10-foot line, or even this blue line that comes close to the out-of-bounds line. So, you know, from personal experience, I've had troubles during tournaments when you can't really tell which line is the out-of-bounds line because it's not very highlighted.
And there's only so much you could really think about when you're out there playing.
Oh, totally. There's 100 things going through your mind, what position you should be in, where the other team is setting up for the spike. It's a lot of quick mental things that you have to think about.
And Woodwork serves for Boise State. Sets over. Spike off Woodwork. Let's see if Arredondo can save it.
Nice
and they
save.
do, off to Crane. And soft tip. They found an opening again, and Washington State's really made their living out of that today.
Those dumps by the setters are really tough, again, because you're not set up for that. You're trying to set up for the spike. So setters really have an advantage when they do a quick dump like that. Other team's not really expecting it, especially after a nice save that they had already made. Oof. Unfortunately, not a very good return on that one. She should try to forearm that because, like I said, it's hard to set a hit or, in that case, a serve.
So let's see how Boise State responds to 2 unanswered Washington State points here.
A little far. She was able to get that over.
And Washington State trying to return it. They do.
Nice save.
And tipped over by Crane. And tipped up by the libero. And spiked down by Crane, but Washington State was ready for it again.
That pass again, a little close to the net, but the setter was able to get a hold of that one and push it just towards the line. Again, what Washington State has been doing this entire game, pushing towards the line.
Arredondo with the set. Spike down into the net.
It looked like the set on that one was just not high enough for her. Number 8, Strand, was a little too tall for that set. She could only get her forearm on it and thus didn't get a good enough spike down. Instead, it just kind of rolled into the net. So here, John, they're switching sides because it's halfway through the set. Teams will do this just so it's a fair advantage. Both teams have had a chance on one side, and then in the third game, they both have a chance to play on both sides of the court.
It seems like that keeps things fair.
Yeah, equal opportunity for everybody.
In case you like a particular side.
I don't know how much of an advantage one side really is over the other, but in situations where there's a lot of spectators around, it really could determine if you're able to save a ball just depending on how many fans are gathered around one side of the court.
You know, what we see here as BSU moves over here, they got more of a home crowd. You see the BSU sign there, which looks homemade, but looks really.
I mean, there's definitely an at-home advantage no matter what sport, no matter where you're playing. Having your fans around you at your home always makes it a little more comfortable. I'm sure these girls have played on this court before. They know any faults that it may have or any benefits that they can get out of it. So they must love playing at home right now.
And now we get to reset here in the third set. Washington State will serve. And looking to see whose point that was.
So, correction on that for our viewers, this game is only going to 15?
It will be, yeah, just because the tournament rules have best of 3 and trying to make the third set just a little bit quicker. Also coming up, we have Gonzaga and Boise State's orange team right after this game. So, and that's what we're going to switch to as soon as this third set commences or ends.
Nice tip there by Boise State to the middle of the court.
It's on a serve. Boise State down by 3.
Nice kill by Washington State on that one. That was well placed in the corner of the back.
And it's been a story of ball placement today, really. I mean, both Boise State and Washington trying to find openings and just those hard-to-reach spots for the other team.
I mean, that's a big volleyball strategy, just placing the ball where you don't see any defenders. So it's hard to actually play the game and watch where the other defenders are. It's really a skill that you have to have, especially in a fast-paced game like volleyball.
Takes a lot of volleyball IQ and experience, for sure. So Wazoo up by 5 on the serve. Gives one to Boise State.
It looked like she was trying to place that serve really tight on the net on BSU. Unfortunately, it was just too tight and ended up on Washington State's side.
So Boise State will serve after getting the point, down by 4.
Free balled over.
And there's Green on the set.
Nice kill by Boise State.
And the referee's going to say that was inbounds, close to the line. Boise State really needed that.
Again, another well-placed ball.
And Bowden on the dig. And Washington State, just a little soft touch again over the net.
Very strategic, trying to get the ball over the block.
And they are 2 points away from a win. Set up to Washington State. Responds well. There's Green on the spike, and it's blocked back. That's going to be game point for Washington State.
Yeah, it was a nice block by number 6, Hannah Ellers. She just kind of stuck her hand up there, and that's right where the ball fell.
Blocked back.
I think that was on the tape, but nevertheless, point for Washington State.
And Washington State is going to take home a win against Boise State, 15-9 in the third set. Jamie, they were able to come back after being down in that first set. Can you give a quick take on their performance today?
Yeah, I mean, they really, like we've been talking about, placed the ball well. A lot of their kills were in the back corners and the middle of the court.
And so, as the game ends, Washington State got to feel happy. We're going to go ahead and move on to Boise State Orange Team versus Gonzaga coming up shortly on a different broadcast. And I'm John Jansen, Jamie Bingham here. We are your hosts, and we are happy you came in and watched the game with us.
Thanks for tuning in.